Welcome back to the lead. Time now for the politics lead. A tense battle over the border this 4th of July could be just moments away from boiling over. The Southern California city of Murrieta made national headlines when protesters blocked 3 buses loaded with undocumented immigrants transferred from Texas, where a surge of children crossing the border illegally has immigration facilities overflowing. It's a situation that the governor of Texas, Rick Perry, calls a humanitarian crisis. The government is expected to bring in more busloads of immigrants to Murrieta today. They could potentially be rolling down the road any minute now, and protesters from both sides are out in full force. Our Kyung La is in the middle of this tense July 4th standoff. Kyung, any sign of the buses yet?
No, and we should stress that these are expected or anticipated. We do not know if they are coming because Immigration and Customs Enforcement does not want to reveal where they are and release any sort of TikTok citing safety concerns. Why? Because this is what is greeting them. You can see that there's a police force here. Officers have now separated the protesters, the pro-migrant rights, the anti-immigration people. They have been separated. They are yelling at each other. It is tense. It is a hot day. They are agitated. This is one camp. Take a look at our other camera. This is about a quarter mile away from us. You can see the rolling road, and then to the right, you see that some American flags. That's about a quarter mile away from us. We're standing at the entrance of the Border Patrol station. People here are extremely passionate about this issue, especially considering the fact that this is the 4th of July. The pro-migrant rights people are saying, hey, we are a nation of immigrants, and calling the other side racist. The other side saying, we're a nation of laws. Here's what a couple of them told us.
We're a nation of immigrants. You know, most of us have immigrants from somewhere. This isn't about that. It's about we're a nation with borders. We're a nation with laws. We have orderly immigration policies so that people are safe, so our citizens are safe, so that people that are trying to get here are safe. You know, we're not a borderless nation.
There's 11 million undocumented people here, and there's people that keep migrating to the United States. It's not an us versus we situation. It's everybody together.
Back live here in Murrieta, these ladies, they're actually sitting down because of heat stroke. Jake, one problem that they're now facing is that it's so hot out here, people are starting to suffer from heat stroke. Jake?
Kyung La in Southern California, thank you so much. Let's bring in our political panel. CNN political commentator Ross Douthat, columnist for the New York Times. Christina Bellantoni, editor-in-chief for Roll Call. And Sahil Kapoor, senior congressional reporter for Talking Points Memo. You know what's interesting, guys? This all comes as President Obama today was naturalizing more than 24 active duty service members at the White House, pressing lawmakers to do immigration reform. But I have to say, this immigration reform pitch that President Obama and Democrats, to a lesser extent, have been making, it really seems to be overshadowed by this border crisis and what's going on with all these children, Christina.
The timing makes it really difficult. The House Republicans were never going to really vote on the Senate bill. I mean, that was pretty clear from a year ago when that Senate bill passed. But looking at these pictures and getting people so enraged just 4.5 months before the midterm elections, it puts this in just such a difficult position. At that field hearing that you mentioned Governor Rick Perry spoke at on Friday, you know, they talked about the fact that the president is asking for more money for the border to deal with this crisis. They also don't want to vote on that. Taking a vote on either side is just a really difficult political position for that.
And I mean, don't you think, Sal, that it makes it look as though President Obama is not addressing what the #1 immigration issue is right now? Obviously, immigration reform, larger issue, can be discussed and debated. This is a crisis right now.
It absolutely is, and I think everyone agrees it is. The problem here is that this is accentuating the passions on both sides of the issue. So what conservatives are saying is that this proves that we're not enforcing the law and we have to get the border secured before we do anything. What the Democrats and what the president are saying is that this makes the case for immigration reform because that'll bring a whole surge of new folks at the border and make our border a lot stronger. So, you know, the president does have a humanitarian crisis on his hands here. I think there are over 52,000 of these unaccompanied minors, and it's going to be very difficult for him to get reform through, not as if it's going to happen anyway, but it's going to be more difficult for him to make the case at this point until this crisis is passed.
Ross, how much do you think that this crisis is President Obama's fault to an extent? I hear a lot of Republicans saying he created this crisis by not enforcing what's going on at the border.
I mean, the timing is striking, right? If you look at trends in child migration and migration of children only with their mothers, the Border Patrol was picking up, I think, 15 to 20,000 a year a few years ago. The numbers were pretty consistent, and then you had a spike that is still ongoing. This year is expected to bring many, many more, and it is timed from the point of view of American politics to the White House basically taking the step of saying we're relaxing deportation for people who arrive here as minors. Now, that being said, obviously, these are people who are coming from Central America. They're not following the ins and outs of U.S. immigration policy.
Right.
So if the White House is playing, if American policy is playing a role here, it's happening through a very complicated game of sort of transcontinental telephone, basically.
Let's turn to another issue if we can, with Hillary Clinton giving an interview to the Guardian newspaper about Edward Snowden, saying that he should have the right to a legal defense. Take a listen.
In any case that I'm aware of, as a former lawyer, he has the right to mount a defense, and he certainly has the right to mount both a legal defense and a public defense, which of course can affect the legal defense. Whether he returns or not is up to him. He certainly can stay in Russia, apparently under Putin's protection for the rest of his life, if that's what he chooses. But if he's serious about engaging in the debate, then he could take the opportunity to come back and have that debate. But that's his decision.
So she seems to be trying to walk a line here. There's the people who think Snowden is a traitor, the people who say he's a freedom fighter, he's a patriot. She seems to be kind of like in the middle a little bit.
It's an interesting statement because what she's saying is theoretically non-controversial. Everyone gets to make a defense.
Sure.
But it's very rare to see political leaders at the highest levels making an overture in the direction of Snowden. This tends to be one issue where Democrats and Republicans really strongly agree on, including the White House really strongly agree on, that what he did was very, very wrong.
Christina?
Well, I just think that it's all in the context of running for president, right? And when you have Republicans like Rand Paul and like that sort of Paul coalition that are going to be some sort of force in the Republican presidential fight, she needs to really address the civil liberties issue because it's attracting young people in a certain way. It's exactly like you said. Some people view him as a hero. Others say that he should be completely, tried and throw away the key. And so she needs to keep both sides engaged in this. But that's not really answering the bigger picture issues,
right,
for bills that, by the way, she voted for with the Patriot Act and some of the bigger picture, what are our civil liberties when it comes to surveillance.
The previous comment that I heard from her on NSA was that she was expressing anger at the bugging of Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, her phone. But she was part of the system that okayed it one way or the other.
I'm pretty sure that that as president, she would be okay with bugging just about any foreign leader that anyone was interested in bugging.
This politically as well? She's running
sure. I think there is the interesting dynamic is this sort of, there's the democratic issue, right, where you do have a sort of civil libertarian flank within the party, and in the event that she attracted a serious primary challenger, she would want to finesse the issue probably in this kind of way. And then there's the question of nobody knows what the Republican nominee's position on these issues will be. It's more likely that they'll be more hawkish, but if it were Rand Paul, it would be a very different political landscape.
All right, Sahil, Ross, Christina, thank you so much. Happy 4th. Thanks for coming in today.